The At Your End Step podcast is brought to you by ComicTown. Check them out at www.comictown.net and search for ComicTown Gaming Center on Facebook. Hello, and welcome to At Your End Step. My name is Morgan, and I am here with Dave.
Hello.
Mike.
Yo.
And our buddy Brian, who is always here for our set review shows.
Hey guys, it's been a long time.
Usually around 3 or 4 months you come on.
Well, I feel like we did the Fate Forge review, and then 2 weeks later we did Dragons.
Yeah,
and
then
months and months later.
we had a regular time between sets now, so...
And now we have the Origins of Dragons. Isn't that the... Is that not the...
No. Awkward. Anyway, Mike, what show is it?
At Your End Step?
Palooza!
So my joy for screaming Palooza was tempered by my desire to troll.
I could tell.
Palooza. I couldn't get the P.
Now you understand that the longer we take with this, the longer
okay,
the
fine,
episode
let's go,
is.
let's
All right,
go.
all right. Okay, what show is it?
The Palooza!
Yes, it's the Magic Origins-PALOOZA.
All right.
As the title of the show will tell you right away. So we do have a bit of housekeeping stuff at the beginning of the show, community stuff that we want to talk about real quick, and then we get into the meat and potatoes of the show.
Meat and potatoes.
Which is the Magic Origins primarily constructed set review. And then we have a few closing bits, but let's go ahead and just move straight into the community topics. So the first one is the banned and restricted update came out, and nothing changed. So what do we feel about that?
I mean, I don't think any of us were, like, shocked or outraged.
Yeah, I actually said I'd be surprised if anything changed. So I wasn't surprised.
The only thing I called was, like, maybe an unbanning. Like, so maybe Ancestral or something, but I didn't think things were getting banned.
I don't know. Like, for Modern, I think Modern's really good right now. You do have some kind of degenerate combo decks, but they haven't really been dominating. You know, maybe one with top 8, but it's not overly oppressive, I feel like. So
it's not like compared to when you look at something like Pod, where Pod was just like pretty much every other like
It was the green deck.
yeah
And
every
that was it.
other GP it was like either winning or like overwhelmingly represented in top 8.
yeah, and like Pod was just it was a long time too. It was over a long period, and they kind of let it breathe. What was that? They let it stay for a while, and then they're like, all right, yeah, this is gone. But yeah, these new Grishol brand decks, and even what's the other deck I'm thinking of? Amulet.
Blue Titan.
Amulet isn't new, but I feel like it's new with being as popular as it is. Like again, it was kind of a fringe deck before.
And even so, like it has not put up results in the last couple of weeks, anyways.
Right.
And like somebody, I think it was the Fact or Fiction articles today on Star City, like discussing this, like Grishol brand. It was like, well, it top aided one major event, and it's not like it's not like all of a sudden blowing everything up. If you know who Josh Claytor is, he does the editing for Legit MTG and Pure MTGO. He actually went through and did a number crunch of all the Modern Festival decks, because he was a person who was like saying like, oh, I think they're gonna have to ban like something from Bloom. So he did the number crunch for all the Modern Festival decks, all the winning decks, and he was like, oh wow, actually these decks are not overrepresented at all. I was wrong. It was kind of cool to see those numbers were like in these huge Modern tournaments, the numbers were bearing out that nothing probably needed to be done.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I'm still sad to see Bloodbraid Elf being on there, but knowing that we have Kolgun's Command, I don't think anyone should be able to cascade into that, so I can understand.
Oh, God.
Yeah, Jun's good enough. It's
Yeah,
fine. It's right where it needs to be.
It's great,
It's good.
and I'm happy. So yeah, no, I think we're all pretty okay with it. The only other discussion was like, I think we all kind of decided it was kind of a silly one for Top being banned due to coverage reasons or anything like that. And
I still think there's a number of legacy players calling for dig through time, and vintage players as well calling for dig through time to possibly be restricted. And I think if Miracles continues, Miracles is not only a terrible deck to watch, but it's actually a really high percentage deck in Legacy right now. And if it continues to dominate the metagame, I could see eventually dig through time getting banned there. But it's neither here nor there. It could happen.
Gotcha.
I think for a legacy ban, something needs to be really broken. Like
Yeah.
Treasure Cruise, a little too good.
All right. The other big thing that happened is a new change. This was announced Monday as well. A new change to go along with rules that happen basically when you draw extra cards. Now this penalty typically was a game loss, but they're actually changing how that works. So no longer will it be a game loss. It's actually going to be a warning. And basically, the in-game fix for it is you would reveal your hand to your opponent. They would get to pick a card that gets is it shuffled back into
Shuffle back in.
Yeah, shuffled back into your library. Now, another important note: you can concede before doing this, but you still get a warning. So, important note. But I mean, this is a pretty drastic change, and I think like we've all like been on one side or another of a game loss happening due to drawing extra cards. So, being able to potentially still play a game of Magic is probably beneficial, I would think.
Yeah, I've seen a number of people react like, well, what if you had the win condition in your hand? And it's like, well, what if you just lost the game?
Yeah.
I think we have to like go back and forth here. It's kind of cool. They also said that they can do like partial fixes here. So like, if you have things written down and you and your opponent can like confirm that like, okay, I thought C's last turn, I know for a fact what these cards are. Then you like maybe you only choose from some of the cards you would not know, which is sort of interesting.
But as the opponent there, why would you give up that information? Like, if you drew the extra card, and I know you have these 4 cards, but I want to get rid of one of those 4 cards, you would just not volunteer that information.
There's probably
to the
scenarios
judge, right?
on both sides where that works, though, where like, like maybe there's a splinter to one of those 4 cards, and now all of a sudden you really want that to stay in your hand.
So you just say, oh, I forget what he had.
Right, or if like the newest card is better, though, you might just be like, oh no, he definitely knows these. Like obviously, I think this would have to be something where the judges both agree and you've agreed with your opponent. If there's any, it's not going to go. So something I thought was interesting about this, though, that I tagged it here in the show notes, is one of the notes at the bottom was that going down a card for improper drawing at the start of game. So like say you drew 8 cards in your opening hand, you always have to like shuffle back in and go down 1 less. Well, now when you do that, it is considered a mulligan specifically. I thought that was interesting, seeing as we might have new rules coming in. So, like, even if you drew 8 cards at the beginning of your turn, it would, it's not just a rule fix; it's a legitimate mulligan. So you would actually get to scry. So I thought that was kind of an interesting thing how they sort of built that in there already.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. I think overall this is a positive rule change. I mean, I think one thing that people have hit home about is like it's still better. Like no matter what they change it, like it's still better than just getting a game loss. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, some people could argue that like it opens up a new door for the people that like the angle shoot. That's like, oh man, like maybe they're more apt to try some shenanigans drawing extra cards because they know they're not going to get a game loss if they get caught. But I think overall it's a good change because I feel like more people got accidental game losses than doing it on purpose.
Yeah, and that's probably what the judging staff realized as well. So, and we also to move on, we also had pre-releases over the weekend. Some of us attended some of us didn't. Dave, you didn't attend one, right?
I did not.
Okay, but everyone else did, correct?
Yes.
But whether it be a solo or two-headed giant. So, I mean, I'll start off with my experiences. I felt the set was really interesting. I built kind of the same deck both times, which is just blue-white tempo, I guess. The first time, my first pre-release that I did went smashingly. Smashingly. I got to draw for first place and, get some packs out of that, so I was fine with that. The second time, I went X3 out of a 5-round event. And I think I could have gone X2, but I did something stupid and switched around my deck and decided to just be an idiot. So, but I still got some decent cards. I didn't actually pull any good cards, so that didn't happen. But it was fun to play with the new cards, obviously. And I think the sealed format is like kind of aggressive.
Yeah, I think the format in general is really fast.
Well, the renown kind of makes it that way. If you get behind and then their creatures all of a sudden get bigger, then you have a real hard time catching up.
Yeah, it's real bad. Like Topin Freeblade. Oh man, that was a scary card to be like, that's going to be a 3/3, and I can't stop that.
Yeah,
it has vigilance, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, I played white-red, and I had 3 of the first strike guys, and it was just like first strike was so good anyways. But then it's like, oh, by the way, a 3/3 is bigger than all of your guys if you let me get ahead.
Yeah,
so.
it definitely seems like you might want to favor like. I believe Ari Lax's article today was like, you definitely have to have a minimum amount of 2-drops. It's like 3 or above, so you just don't get behind in the actual format, which I can definitely attest to. I also found that there are a lot of good 4-drops in blue, and, and there's like the bounce guy, the Void Mage, Prodigy, or what have you. Not the Void Mage Prodigy, but the bounce guy.
Is it Separatist?
Yeah, Separatist. That's what it is. And then you have the Aeronaut, and then you have the Whirler Rogue. And like I just had like all these guys like, oh, these are all my 4-drops. Oh, okay, this is cool. I mean, they're all great, but man.
Side note: all of the random names for the things that make Thopters all sound like old timey fireworks. Like when you say, like I heard like Whirler Rogue a couple times, and I saw like a pinwheel that you lit on fire. Like it was like Zzz, Whirler Rogue. I'm sorry, I know it's really weird, but the one thing I want to point out I thought was interesting. I had an Avaricious Dragon. I also had 2 Gideons, but hey, you know what am I saying? But Avaricious Dragon, what?
He started this with, "I have a solid pool." Is how he described this, by the way.
It was a really good pool. I'm not gonna lie. But I had an Avaricious Dragon, which was like I thought multiple times, like when I cast it, like it was one of those cards where like, okay, either they kill it now or I could win this game. It never got killed, and that's something really weird about this format. A 4/4 actually difficult to kill. So something to point out where like those like the uncommon angel as well seems like it was like way like performing way above expectations.
I can definitely attest to that. It killed me like multiple times in my second pre-release for my one opponent that had it just resolved, and I was like, yeah, I can't deal with that.
Like if you're not in black, then like your removals like claustrophobia or like the not quite so faith's fetters.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was fun. I hope everyone had fun. But let's get into cards.
Yeah, most certainly. All right, so we are going to go through all the cards by color. We'll, I believe we're going in Wooburg order, if I'm not mistaken. And
We are.
perfect. And mainly, we're going to be looking at cards in a constructive manner. Obviously, looking at the unlimited is still relatively important, and we'll try to touch on those implications if it matters. So standard, and then cube, sure. We'll throw that in. We have a couple cube experts here, and I know people really enjoy that. So
I will say I put this list together today for cards. It's fairly expansive. There's a couple cards in here that they've already given me weird looks for. So but Dave and I've already found out. We've gone through like a couple past ones, and we've skipped a couple of cards. And I did not want to let that happen this time. I don't want to be the one who missed something.
we don't want to have another collected company again. All right.
By the way, that was on me. So maybe trust my list. Just saying. Maybe trust my list.
We'll go through it. It's all right. It's fine. All right. So after we go through all the cards, we, of course, are going to go through our top 5 standard constructed cards, specifically standard, and then our sleepers, of course. So let's go ahead and get started with white. So the first one, I mean, it's a pretty easy one.
Hold on. Dave and I are going to go off and on this, and you're gonna just talk like everyone else.
Okay.
Fine. You didn't let us do it last time. We're getting there.
Okay.
So Dave,
you guys just got to keep it up.
begin.
All right, so the first card we're going to look at is Archangel of Tithes. So it's 1 white, 3/5 flying. As long as Archangel of Tithes is untapped, creatures can't attack you or a planeswalker you control unless their controller pays 1 for each of those creatures. And it has, as long as Archangel of Tithes is attacking, creatures can't block unless their controller pays 1 for each of those creatures. So we talked about this card a couple weeks ago, and I think it's a solid card. I think the casting cost is pretty prohibitive. So you're going to have to play this in, obviously a mono white deck or something close to it. I do like the stats on it. So it's able to dodge Elspeth, which is nice. Can block Siege Rhino. So yeah, I mean it's got some good stats. I'm not sure if it's quite good enough.
I compared this before to Angel of Jubilation because it sits in a weird spot in the format where the deck that would really be able to play this, like, and honestly, Origins lets this deck exist, is like some aggressive white deck, Gideons into, Knight of the White Orchid into whatever. And as a 4-drop, like, this doesn't really do what the rest of that deck is doing. Like, the blocking trigger is real, but like a 3/5 flyer is like not exactly aggressive, especially when you have things in the format like, Kithian's Irregulars or, trying to think even Ojutai's Exemplars if you're building that way, like some cards that attack a little bit better. So it'll be interesting. Like if this deck or this creature finds a home, I think it'll be very good, but it has to find a home.
Yeah, I mean, if the mono white devotion deck ends up being a real thing, then this could see some play.
Yeah, I could see it being with mono white devotion. I mean, there's something to be said about making your creatures difficult to block in mono white. You typically don't have any sort of reach, so this could try and be that. So if that deck is a deck, if it exists, then sure. But those strategies typically have been pretty lackluster as of late. But maybe Magic Origins provides the shot in the arm to those strategies. So we'll see.
All right, next card is Celestial Flare, which is a returning favorite, a white target player sacrifices an attacking or blocking creature as an instant. And I want to mention this one quickly, just because this is a sort of spell that's like a little innocuous, like, oh, it's in there. But the last time it was in Standard, it was actually a major player. Like,
Yeah, it was really good in the blue-white control deck.
and at least for a few months, Stormbreath Dragon is still legal, which is the card that it was essentially killing before. So people have been dabbling with blue-white for a while in the format. It hasn't been generally as good as blue-black or Esper Dragons, but it's existed. So you see a card like this, and now and there's another one we'll get to later in white as well. That I think you need to know this is here.
Yeah, certainly that point. You just need to know about it. Need to know if your opponent has the white up and you want to attack with your dragon. Just get him with your Elvish Mystic too.
I think this will be killing Ojutai's more than Stormbreath Dragon for probably the next
no,
year.
no, you're right. I was just pointing out, but I think you're actually you're very right. All right, next one, Dave.
All right, so the next card we have here is Consul's Lieutenant. So this is a white human soldier. It's a 2/1 first strike. Also has Renown 1. And whenever Consul's Lieutenant attacks, if it's renowned, other attacking creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. So this is a nifty little card. I kind of feel like there hasn't been a lot of first strike in Standard for a while. And 2/1 first strike for 2 is okay. It's nothing crazy. But I mean, when it becomes a 3/2, it's obviously a little bit better. It still doesn't attack through a Courser, which is kind of awkward. I don't think this card is quite good enough for Constructed, but I don't know. Maybe if there's a white weenie deck, it could be okay.
So I definitely included this card on the list because it reminded me of like a hybrid of couple of the cards that were really popular in aggressive decks back in Scar's block because of how closely it mirrors Battlecry. You had a Quarter Paladin, saw a lot of play in that format. Now, granted, that format also had like Brave the Elements for a while as well, but this guy being able to attack, Courser is awkward, but he gets to attack through a lot of other creatures. He makes some of your tricks better, especially if you're in like Boros colors, and pumping your team not just +1/+0 like Battlecry is, but +1/+1. Like again, like Origins lends itself to like it's screaming like White Weenie is here. Figure out what to do with it, and I feel like this is a card that could definitely play into that strategy.
Its power is certainly there. It's just a matter of if the metagame allows it to exist.
Right, sure.
I just want to note real quickly, I'm kind of on the fence about adding this to Common and Common Cube.
I like it. I like it. In
I mean,
Common
it's power level wise, it's pretty good. It's just the white casting cost is very awkward. I've been doing a lot of trimming of the double white costed creatures.
So it did before. I don't know if you've cut it recently, but doesn't it play the Kithkin one, the white that has lifelink at first strike?
I actually can't remember if I still have. I think I still have it in there, but it's
This
probably
is
better.
I think this is better than that, personally.
Okay.
All right, next card. All right, the next card is Hallowed Moonlight. Hallowed Moonlight is a 1 white instant. Until end of turn, if a creature would enter the battlefield and it wasn't cast, exile it instead, draw a card. And yeah, we mentioned this card a little bit before, but it's definitely interesting. Again, this format has a ton of tokens, and this says no tokens for the turn. It also stops like Resurrection, which Res is not really a popular thing in the format right now. However, we do have Death Misraptor as like that one sort of kick to that where that also stops them from coming back too. So it cantrips. It's got some utility. It'll probably find play, probably a sideboard card, but it'll see some play.
Yeah, I mean this card probably has more of an impact in Modern. Obviously, this is a card that helps with the Grizzlebrand decks that we discussed earlier, and having that draw card tacked onto it means that it can still be a respectable like main deck card, and it's not just completely dead if need be, if that kind of like drastic measure was needed. So, not saying that it is, but I could see this being more of a player in Modern than Standard, but both have their implications. But yeah, 100% a sideboard card.
I think this card is really close, but I think it would have to cost 1 mana to see play. But 1 mana draw card probably be a little too good. I just think it's too narrow for what it does. Like, I understand the cantrips, but like, if you're putting this in your side, like in Modern, right? If you're putting this in your sideboard, you could also just like, if you're worried about Gristlebrand decks, you could just play like Rest in Peace. And it's like you cut off half of what they can do there.
But you can't play Rest in Peace if you play Tarmogoyf. So this actually gives lends you another type of angle that decks that play white and play Tarmogoyf that can't play Rest in Peace. Rest in Peace
or Snapcaster Mage for that matter. I mean, that's a good point.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like Rest in Peace is obviously one of the most powerful graveyard hate cards, but
yeah, I mean, I was saying it more like Rest in Peace is a more powerful sideboard card than this. Like,
correct.
Like there are better options. I feel like.
And if all decks could play Rest in Peace, then they would, but they can't.
Yeah, and I think like this card has enough legs to, like, I mean, it beats Living End pretty hard too. So I think it's like exiles all the creatures, so it's pretty adorable. So I think it will have chances. I think it has more chances to play than you're giving credit for, than Dave. I mean, Shadow of Doubt sees main deck play. Granted, it's a fetch land format, but it's still a card that actually does nothing but pay 2 mana, draw a card half the time.
I'm ready to be proven wrong.
All right, we're ready to believe you.
Okay. All right, so this next card is really sweet. Knight of the White Orchid. So Knight of the White Orchid is a white 2/2 first strike human knight. When Knight of the White Orchid enters the battlefield, if an opponent controls more lands than you, you may search your library for a plains card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. I love this card. I want a PTQ with this card and playing blue-white control. So, yeah, this card is sweet. Like back when it was in standard originally, it was really good. I mean, it's not broken by any means, but it is noteworthy that the land comes into play untapped.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times, if you're on the draw, you can play this on turn 2 and then play another 2-drop after. So you get a land, you play your third land. So, again, I don't know how viable mono white deck is. And just like the Angel, this is going to have to go in a nearly mono white deck, but it's a good incentive to play that type of deck. So.
Yeah, I mean, it will kind of sound like a broken record, but if the deck is there, then this will be in it. If it's not, then the card's kind of irrelevant.
By the way, I still have my 4 Japanese ones when they were still in standard.
So you'll be prepared if it happens.
Excited. Yeah.
Perfect.
Speaking of if that deck exists, let's talk about another card from that. Gideon, Hero of Akros. So we've talked about him a little bit. He's one, so he's just white, 2/1 creature, which has pay a white and 2 colorless, becomes indestructible until end of turn. And it says, at the end of combat, if Kithian, Hero of Akros, and at least 2 other creatures attack this combat, exile Kithian and then return him to the battlefield, transformed under his owner's control. In which case, we then get Gideon. Make sure I have his name correctly.
Battleforge.
Thank you, Gideon Battleforge.
Just turn the card over.
Yeah, why don't you bring one of your 2?
It's on eBay. So, and then Gideon, it looks a lot like one of his former selves. It's +1, target creature and opponent controls attacks Gideon next turn to Fable. Or it's +2, I'm sorry. +1, target creature you control gains indestructible until the turn, untap it. And then 0, it becomes a 4/4 human creature with indestructible. And you can attack with it. So,
prevent all damage.
Prevent all damage. It's that weird, like, it's a creature, not a planeswalker, so it needs to have damage prevention. You can't lose loyalty counters and blah blah blah.
Yeah,
well, it's it's a creature that's still a planeswalker,
which is interesting because
it's different than how they redid the Sarkhan. So
where you could have like Dragon Sarkhan and play another Sarkhan, and it was okay for a few minutes. This card I got to play with it. I got to cast it a couple times, and it just died all the time. I think it's really cool they were able to design a 1-drop Planeswalker, but as we've seen in this format, there's a lot of Savannah lines, even some with upside in this format. There's Dragon Hunter, which is like
all the Savannah lines of upside. There's no actual like downside Savannah lines in the current format.
But no, I'm saying they have upside over actual Savannah lines.
Yeah,
like a Savannah lines that deals you with damage every
it's Savannah lines with upside. Like Savannah lines is just space 2/1. It is
right.
And there's ones that have abilities.
But there's no that have downsides.
What? That's not what I'm saying.
It just sounded like
you're saying. It's a Savannah Lines with upside. Morgan's saying they're all like that.
Yeah,
but then, what I'm saying, Savannah Lines is a base 2/1 for 1.
Right.
It doesn't see play anymore, so it's not a very good creature. So you're taking that, but it's with upside. I don't understand. I'm confused.
Okay.
They all
I
have
understand what you're
abilities that
saying.
are
He's saying in the context of the format.
Whatever.
They're
There's at
all
least 3
better than
1-drops
Savannah Lines.
or 2/1s for 1 that have abilities that make them different from just Elite Vanguard or Savannah Lines. All right.
Right.
And this one has the ability to turn into a planeswalker, which is cool, but may not be as relevant as protection from dragons, or may not be as relevant as protection from multicolored. I don't know yet. So I think Kithian has a lot of things to prove before he gets play in this format. I hate everything now. Thanks, Morgan.
You're welcome.
I played him.
That was a good troll, Morgan. You got
I
him
played
back.
him in two-headed giant. Cast him once, flipped him, and he didn't do anything.
Yeah, like at all.
He plussed a bunch. He made one of our flyers indestructible.
Yeah, that's the thing I don't like about this card. So when this card was first spoiled, I was just like, oh, you know what? This is pretty sweet. Like, you know, this doesn't seem that hard. But then I thought about it more. It's like, okay, so you have to play a very specific deck with a lot of creatures. Okay, you have to be able to attack with 3 creatures just to flip it. And then when he flips, it's not even that impressive. It's like, oh, okay, we have some okay abilities.
Well, he gets to untap one of the creatures that attacked, and then it protects
Yeah.
him.
It just doesn't. It doesn't seem worth all the trouble.
If we could play Naya Blitz again, and that was still good,
Oh man,
this would be really good.
Please.
So I think it's more of a format where this is a metagame card. Right now we can't play white mana 2/1s. But maybe when some green cards rotate out, then maybe we can.
Zendikar, the original format for Zendikar was lightning fast. So maybe once we go there, I said maybe these Theros-y god things go away. You know, like, oh, working on devotion. Oh, Dirtle. No, we want to attack. Maybe then. But right now, having played with the card, I definitely agree. I don't like where it's at in the format.
I mean, let's take a look. Like Gideon, Battleforge, Battle for Zendikar, Illuminati confirmed.
Battleforge Zendikar. Whoa.
All right.
That cloud in the background looks like an Eldrazi.
Or a god. I mean, I don't know. I could be wrong.
It could just be banned.
Oh, I see it now.
All right.
The one in the bushes.
There's a tentacle over there. It's hard to see.
All right, so next card we have is Kithian's buddies, Kithian's irregulars.
These are definitely just the kids club members from like the Burger King commercials back in the day.
Yeah, yes. So Kithian's irregulars, it's 2 colorless, white for a 4/3 human soldier.
Soldiers.
Has renown 1. That's not really that exciting. It does have a cool ability though of white tap target creature. Don't have to tap this card, so you can definitely tap down multiple creatures with this. Again, need a lot of white mana to make this
so
work.
much.
Why do I keep getting all the cards that are like 1,000,000 white?
Because we're in
It's
white
just-
right now.
It's
I don't know.
just, no, but every card I have is like double white or the triple white.
Tap your Nykthos, tap 4 of their guys.
Yeah.
You stole my point. I was gonna be like, well, there's this card in this format that could make a lot of white mana.
Morgan's always got Nykthos on the brain. I remember when we were talking about, was it Treasure Cove or whatever that card was? And you were like, man, Nykthos make that card insane. So this card I don't think is going to be very good right now, but I think sometime in the future it could be very good. I think in the format with Lightning Strike and Bile-Blight in it, 4/3 is kind of awkward. But I mean, if this thing gets going, it can really take over the game. It can control the board pretty easily. So it is a little mana intensive, but it's definitely a card to keep an eye out on. I think maybe sometime in the future, maybe after rotation.
Yeah, I talk about like cards competing with like Archangel of Tides, white spot. This card feels like the aggressive card. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get your threats out of the way, and we're gonna keep attacking in. So, again, it does die to a lot of removal, which I know people don't like that as an argument, but it's a good argument for this card right now. So.
Yeah. This card actually almost feels pushed. Like just 2 white and tap target creature. Like we haven't seen a card that has
The tapper at common in this format, you have to pay 3 to tap it
and tap it. Yeah, yeah. So that's pretty aggressive. Like they don't print cards like that willy nilly. So I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens with this card. But right now, I don't think it's quite good enough.
Fair enough. All right, next card is another reprint, Sigil of the Empty Throne, which is 3 white for an enchantment. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, put a 4/4 white angel creature token with the battlefield or with flying onto the battlefield. Now this is like a commander staple. Go
You
ahead.
skipped Relic Seekers, but we'll go
Yeah,
back
we'll
to
get to
that.
that after.
Yeah,
I'm
we'll
sorry,
go
I
back
was
to
trying
that.
to go through.
Continue.
I apologize. I did skip Relic Seeker. I was just looking at the list. Anyways, so Sigil of the Empty Throne is like I said, an interesting reprint. I've seen it a lot in Commander. You don't see it very often constructed wise. Like I know there's some like Enchantress lists. However, is an interesting card in this format, if only because there's so many enchantments running around.
Yeah.
And so many good enchantments.
I mean, we almost have to talk about this and like Starfield of Nyx at the same point in time. I feel like they're going to make a lot of the same points.
That's fair. We can include Starfield is the card after this, then we'll go back to Relic Seeker.
Yeah.
I apologize. So Starfield of Nyx, I'm going to take this card, so deal with it, Dave. Also,
It
an
would have been
enchantment.
yours anyway. So.
I guess it would have. I don't understand anymore. 4 colors and a white. For an enchantment, at the beginning of your upkeep, you may return target enchantment card from your graveyard to the battlefield. As long as you control 5 or more enchantments, each other non-aura enchantment you control is a creature in addition to its types and has base power and toughness equal to its converted mana cost. So these do work really well. Obviously, fighting over the same mana slot, but the only thing awkward is Starfield Nyx returns it from your hand to the battlefield, and Sigil asks you to cast them.
Yeah, those things definitely do go against each other.
But they're both engine cards, so it's interesting to see them both sitting here. Yeah.
I have a rules question. So, this has probably been talked about before, but how does this affect enchantment creatures? Like if it is turned on. So if you have 5 or more enchantments, are they still just like whatever?
So like Courser's a 3/3.
It's okay. It
Like
just is a 3/3, and then if
just
this
is-
gets turned off, it's
And
back
it's
to a
2/4.
2/4.
Yeah.
Huh, that's kind of weird.
Yeah, it is weird. So I do think, like I said, I think out of the two, Starfield is obviously the more powerful card, but Sigil is definitely the kind of engine card that you can just play, and like for the rest of the game, you just get a little bit of value out of it when you cast like your Courser or what if you're playing Banishing Lights or whatever you want to do. So I think they'll both see some play here. I think Sigil obviously is probably going to fall off post rotation. But it's kind of cool to see them throw like some of these engine cards in here to like give Theros a really strong goodbye.
Don't forget about Back to Nature, folks. Still a viable card in this format potentially, so just remember it.
I don't know about you guys, but I think Starfield would be a lot better if it cost 3. But that's just,
Yeah, as we
That's just
might have
me.
found out, last week. Yeah, the card's pretty busted at
Almost
3.
cost 3, which is terrifying.
Yeah, that is horrifying. Most certainly.
All right, so let's back it up. Go ahead, Dave.
all right. So Relic Seeker, it's colorless white 2/2. Human Soldier has renown 1, and when Relic Seeker becomes renowned, you may search your library for an equipment card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. So this is kind of the fixed Stoneforge Mystic, if you will.
Neutered.
Neutered Stoneforge Mystic. Though I don't think it's that bad, actually. Obviously, right now, we don't really have a ton of exciting equipment to get with this. However, last time we were on Zendikar, there was a lot of equipment running around, so we will see what happens.
Yeah, this couldn't have been more of a plant if it was
Yeah.
brought to us in a nice pot with some soil in it.
It's just sticking out of the dirt. Just Relic
Yeah,
Seeker.
exactly. Yeah, I mean, like
Dancing
there
during the credits of
there
a
isn't
movie.
a doubt in my mind that there won't be some sort of equipment theme in Adventureland, as Zendikar was kind of the brainchild of Mark Rosewater, is that he wanted an Indiana Jones-esque place. So you need your whip, man. So I expect a lot of equipment, at least a good amount of equipment in battle. So I mean, you got to arm up, man, and go into battle.
It probably doesn't take like sword level of
No.
equipment either.
I mean, in theory, we're going to talk about this card later, but we already have a sword in this set that might be worth fetching up if Landfall comes back. So
Before the swords were even printed, Stoneforge Mystic was getting
Oh yeah, I played that. Basilisk Collar.
Yeah, Basilisk Collar.
and
And
adventuring gear. So
adventuring gear, and also what was the Warhammer thing?
Oh,
Am I thinking of?
Behemoth Sledge.
Behemoth Sledge. Oh yeah, play the Naya deck.
No, yeah,
That was
it doesn't take. Yeah, you're right. It doesn't take broken equipment for this card to be good. It is still a bear.
yeah, well,
So-
yeah, and then comparing it to Stoneforge Mystic isn't really fair to it because that card's banned in multiple
Yeah,
formats.
that's
That card was
one of the
banned.
best cards
It's one of the
ever.
last cards ever banned in Standard.
Yeah,
So, all right. So next card is Swift Reckoning. This is a white and one and a white for a sorcery. This says destroy target tapped creature. It does have spell mastery though, so if there are 2 or more instants and or sorcery cards in your graveyard, you may cast it as though it had flash. And that's where I start to really like this card. In the deck that wants to play this in a deck like a control deck or a deck playing Anticipate or whatever else, it's really easy to hit spell mastery, and all of a sudden you have as close to a Doomblade you're going to get in white outside of having swords or path back that I think I've seen in a long time. So this card is definitely interesting to me. There's not a lot of things that can't target. Obviously they have to attack first, but the deck that's being reactive in the first place is okay with this. So I feel like this card's going to see a lot of play.
I definitely think that it is interesting. It will exist in a format for a little bit that still has Raise the Alarm, which is a nice, easy way to a nice, easy, and potentially aggressive way to actually get spell mastery if you really want. And maybe that's where this card also might see a little bit of a life. But yeah, I mean, this effect, looking at cards that do this, they've typically been black a lot of the time, and sorcery speed, or on weak
Or
creatures.
costing a lot more.
Oh yeah, most certainly. So this card, I think you're right in putting it on here because it does feel kind of pushed. And I mean, when you look at the removal and look at the removal we're actually going to be losing when we moved, obviously we don't know what's going to come out in battle, but we are losing a lot of removal, theoretically. So maybe this is one of the cards they were trying to work with to experiment with, and maybe this is where removal gets pushed to.
Looking at the set, I hadn't considered this as a constructed card, but as Morgan said, they haven't printed this in white, so it's got a few things going for it. This hasn't been printed in white. This hasn't been printed this cheap, so I'm open to it being possible to be played. A downside, I think I still like Valorous Stance more, but
I
that's
agree.
because they can play a creature and you can use your mana at the end of their turn to kill a creature that turn. You don't have to wait for it to attack and hold up 2 mana. But
Sure.
Yeah, I was just going to make that same point. I think it's going to be competing for slots like with Valor Stance and I don't know.
But this certainly fills a few holes that Valor Stance can't hit. There's creatures that you want to kill that Valor Stance can't kill. So
For sure. Yeah. I mean,
May I introduce you to Goblin Rival Master? All right, next card, Dave.
all right. So the next card is Rin Wingmare. This is the new Thalia card. So it's 2 and a white for a 2/1 flyer, creature Pegasus, and non-creature spells cost 1 more to cast. So yeah, it's basically a Thalia ability. It is not a legendary creature, so you could have multiple of these in play, which is kind of gross.
Yeah.
Glow Rider.
Yeah,
Board.
flying glow rider. I don't know. I like this card a lot. Actually, the stats aren't exciting, but the ability is so good. Like if you've ever played against Thalia, it's so annoying. So I mean, if you're playing a heavy creature deck and you don't really care about about that affecting you, it's just like it's really annoying to deal with.
Yeah, I think this is again, the White Weenie deck. Traditionally, in the past, the White Weenie deck also has to have some way to tax their opponent. You know what I mean? That some sort of annoying ability. And this is one that definitely stacks. When you have things like Languish running around, and this is your 3-drop, all of a sudden Languish isn't going to come in on time, and then you play another one, and it's like, and your opponent just sighs heavily, and you keep attacking for 2.
Yeah.
yeah, it's going to be important to see how good having 2 of them out is, because this is a body that's under par
For sure,
3. So
for sure.
how big of an upside do we have for having 2 of them out there?
Yeah, I mean, in white doesn't really get any. These days, it doesn't really get any disruption. Like back in the old days, you get like stuff like Armageddon and stuff, and you can actually punish people. Now it's like if you get ahead with white, you got to play cards like this to kind of stay ahead, or
Right.
at least buy yourself a turn. So I like this card. Now, Keller, I was going to ask you, what do you think of this card for Cube? Do you think it's good enough? Or
I don't, because the only upside to this card is you can have multiples of it. To me, I feel like
That's true, but
I
you
feel
could
like
have
the
this
upside to this is
Thalia.
you can have.
get Thalia into this? Oh man.
No,
No.
there's a bunch of good 3s at white. I don't really think just a 2/1 flyer is enough.
That's true. Yeah, I thought it was borderline at best, but just wanted to run that by you.
I don't know. I like this card. I like this kind of effect. I think it
You
it's-
do?
You would like this card.
I think it's powerful. I think that a 2/1 flyer for 3 is not necessarily that awful. In all honesty,
I mean, if that's how we're evaluating the card, like,
But I mean, like-
Hushman Griffsaw play. So I mean, I understand.
yeah, exactly. And when you
Had Flash though. Yeah.
Flash is important, sure. But I mean, like you take into consideration that white is secondary in flying and everything like that. I think that this card, it may waver between like sideboard and main deck, but I like it. I think that it's an important card to have in the format for specifically white X aggro decks. So
We just need to play this off of an Elvish Mystic. Then we've got it.
that's possible. I actually
Probably a devotion deck.
I
Play no actual spells that aren't creatures.
And we can use Nykthos to get around the mana restrictions.
yeah, it's perfect. Yeah, no downside. So overall, I think White got some pretty interesting cards. I think it's kind of interesting that the most of the cards that we talked about in White could actually just not do anything in constructed.
Yeah, like it'd all be in the same deck and be good, or they could just like not see any play and you'd be like,
It's so
you'd be like,
weird.
Didn't your extra sub say this card might have been playable? I don't know. Gotta.
Dust off the old recording, the old digital recording that has no dust on it. Yep.
Well, if it's going to happen, the time is now for Hiliad.
Yes.
It's time for him to rise up before he rotates out.
Be darned any glare of heresies that might see play.
All right, so we're gonna move to blue. Mm-hmm. Okay, so moving into blue, first card we have to look at is Clash of Wills, which is X and a blue counter target spell unless its controller pays X. We've had this in the format multiple times before. The last time we had it was with Syncopate, and every time it's printed, it sees play. Now, granted, this has no upside, and we could have had Condescend here, but it's just too good, apparently.
And that's Scry too.
I'm sort of being sarcastic and sort of being really bitter at the same time, but it's sort of, counter spells have been in a weird place, but now you have the chance to have like Silumgar Scorn being very good, and then like this X spell to like mop up and like counter. You can have multiple counter spells on turn 2 now, which hasn't been the case in the format for a long time. So I'm not saying this is broken by any means, but it's going to be a powerful tool.
Yeah, it's definitely not broken ambition.
No, yeah,
that's for sure. Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, it's a card. It's playable. It'll probably be like a 1 or 2 of in a deck that wants additional counter spells. So yeah, there's not really much else to say about this one.
Yep, just again another card you should know.
Oh
is
yeah,
here.
it'll see standard play 100%.
Plus, it's got Jace doing mental combat with what's his name here?
Alhamaret.
He's a marmot.
I still
Hamaret, highly unplayable. That's his name, right?
I still enjoy the meme that was going around for it was a picture of him, and on the back it says do not believe his lies, and it's a reference to Memento. It's so
Yeah,
good.
that was pretty good.
It's so good.
All right, Dave.
All right, I got a sweet card. Days Undoing. 2 colorless blue sorcery. Each player shuffles his or her hand and graveyard into his or her library, then draws 7 cards. Man, that card's sweet. Oh wait, there's another line here. If it's your turn, end the turn. Oh. So we kind of touched on this one a couple weeks ago. It's really cute with in Modern if you're playing Quicken and you cast it on your opponent's turn. It's pretty nice. If you're playing it in Standard, it's going to require a pretty specific deck. So I'm not sure if this is going to be that great in Standard, but basically, if you're playing like a deck that can like empty its hand or playing a very low curve, you can use this to refuel. So I think that's where you could see it.
I mean, I don't know if I want to do the testing for this card just because I don't want to spend the money on the card, but I'm excited to see what people do with it. Like the only thing in Standard I've seen any inclination to even want to try it with. I'd really like to cast this when I have Just Guy Ascendancy. Like, oh man. Like, I don't even care if I'm just casting on my turn and passing. It's just like, all right, buddy, you have a full hand. You better do something right now because you're dead next turn. So I think that's kind of spicy. But this card, I like this card so much because there isn't any obvious place like where it's just like, okay, this is broken, right? It's like you're like, I know this is broken. I know it is. How do I do it?
Yeah, this is really aggressively costed. I mean, it's probably about as close to Time Twister as they're ever going to print.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So
This is fixed Time Twister.
Fixed Twister?
Yeah.
But I like it. I like that they made this card. I don't think it's going to get too out of hand. Again, I'd like
it's
to be
gonna
proven
fill up
wrong.
hands.
I like to be proven wrong. But
I would like to see this with Burn. I think that potentially there could be a Burn deck that could use this effectively in some facet, and whether it be it being just like splashing for this, or maybe having some counters in the sideboard potentially. But I think that there's enough, like there might be another critical mass of burn spells in the format for the next 4 or so months that people might want to try this just as like a way to refill and then kill you.
Right, and that's what people talk about for Modern as well.
Yeah.
People already splashed for Treasure Cruise, so splashing for Days Undoing isn't hard, and Affinity might also want to do this. So the scary thing about Affinity is even like ending the turn, like it doesn't matter. Like they can, unlike Burn, will still probably take them a few turns to cast all the spells that is drawn. Affinity actually could empty out 7 cards the next turn.
Right.
So
Look at all these cards I just drew. Boop, 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 boop. These cards, let me show them to you.
all right, let's go to the next one here. Now, I was gonna skip this one, but Patrick Chapin apparently really likes this card, and I was like, well, maybe we should just reevaluate for a second here. This is Disciple of the Ring, blue, for, 3 colors, so 3 colors, blue, for a creature human wizard. This is a 3/4. It is one of the mythics of the set. It has a number of abilities, so you can pay 1 and you exile an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard, then choose 1. Counter target non-creature spell unless its controller pays 2. Disciple of the Ring gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Tap target creature or untap target creature. It's got a lot of abilities, and I think when we discussed this before, we immediately said, well, I mean, the Delve spells are just better. And then Chapin came out, and it was like, here's this blue-red version of the deck that didn't have a great finisher beyond, like, you can play Ugin, you can play Keranos, and here's this. You're not delving anything away. Try to kill it. And I was like, huh, this is interesting. I don't know if the card is good, but unlike other Morphling variants, it does give itself +1/+1, so it doesn't like you don't have to play this game where you're like pump, pump down. You don't have to do this. You can just do this, and it can actually counter certain spells. It gets weaker, obviously, the less spells you have in your graveyard, but most of the time you only need to make sure the thing stays alive. You only need to counter a couple of spells in the first place. So it's interesting. But again, if Chapin says we should look at it again, well, I thought maybe we should.
Yeah, it's definitely awkward in the format, with the delve spells, like you said. You kind of have to choose between the two, and I feel like Dig Through Time is probably a little too good to pass up on. So I'm not a big fan of this card, though. I can see situations where it would be pretty good. But
Yeah.
I don't. In the end, I don't think it'll. I don't think this is a better finisher than like Ojdai.
Yeah,
like if you're playing a control deck.
Again, it depends on the colors, though. Like, he wasn't in... I said, I don't know. It probably won't see any play. But it's got all these abilities. And, things that have a lot of abilities, I mean,
I don't know. I've seen you destroy Aetherlings at sorcery speed. I don't know.
Well, luckily, you'd have to jump through some hoops to have this one die to Elspeth. So... All right, I guess go to the next one then, Dave.
All right, so next card we have is Displacement Wave. And this card is X, blue, sorcery. Return all non-land permanents with converter mana cost X or less to their owner's hands. I haven't really thought of anything cool to do with this. I mean, I guess you can kill everybody's tokens for just blue.
For just blue, which is...
Seems like there's a million cards in the format that do that.
It's a little weird. I mean, people were playing the one from Born of the Gods, the 4-mana one that bounces everything except for like Leviathans and like
Krakens.
Yeah.
Oh, the wave or whatever.
Whelming Wave,
right?
Yeah.
And they were doing it to try and get rid of low drops. And this, this one, I mean, even on turn 3, you can hit, if it's against mono red, you can hit their 1-drops, you can hit their tokens. It's an interesting piece of interaction for, I mean, again, blue, look at that Goblins deck the top 8 at the open a couple weeks ago. Like blue, wipe your board is pretty good. Now, again, that's a corner case. It's pretty narrow in the first place, but you can also just like use this in a couple of interesting ways. So it's definitely, again, one of those tools in the format. You don't know if it'll have a chance to shine, but it could.
You can bounce your demonic pact.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it can.
For 6, but yeah. I mean, if you get into that point in the game where you have demonic pact,
better than losing the game.
You're probably going to have 6 mana, so that's a thing.
I wish they would stop printing these ones say non-land though. Like, I've been playing this cube all week. Could just like give me all people one more time.
You can't do that anymore.
Why?
No. Yeah.
But why? It was so much fun.
You can't do that in Magic.
Well,
Not anymore.
Of course you can't. Not until you've already cast Mirari's Wake, and then you have to go wish for the upheaval. That's how we play Magic, right? That's how I want to play Magic.
It's so sick. So unfun.
All right, so the next one is Fairy Miscreant. For blue for a 1/1 flyer, creature fairy rogue. When Fairy Miscreant enters the battlefield, if you control another creature named Fairy Miscreant, draw a card. So this is one of the cycle of the
Collect them all.
collect them all commons. Thank you.
This is the Squirtle, if you will.
The Butterfreeze. Thank you. Like what? Like they have
It was
wings.
just blue. I don't know. Okay.
Wow. So I mentioned this card because, again, Patrick Chapin, brewing all week, pointed out that the Blue Devotion decks that are still hanging around have been playing things like Shoreline Ranger or Gradel Lurker or
Shoreline Stalker.
Shoreline Stalker. Is that it? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Hypnotic Siren.
Hypnotic
really,
Siren.
Really scraping the bottom,
Yeah.
bottom of the barrel.
And this card, like in the past, they played the one with Evolve, and also there's one more missing, right?
Falcon Raptor and
Judges Familiar.
Judges
Pro
Familiar.
Tour
Yeah,
champion, Judges
Or even
Familiar.
Gale Rider Sliver.
multiple Pro Tour
Multiple
champions.
Pro Tour
Yeah,
champion.
or even Gale Rider Sliver because of Mutavault. So
Give him the respect.
So he mentioned how this one, like if you're already looking for a flying man, essentially ones that draw cards are interesting. He also mentioned that like if you're playing the collected company version, there's worse things in the world you can do than collect a company for 2 of these and draw 2 cards. So it's definitely interesting. Like if it's going to see play, that's where it's going to see play. But it works pretty well in conjunction with the next card on our list.
Yes, the next card we have is Harbinger of the Tides. It's blue for a Merfolk Wizard. 2/2.
A Merfolk
A
Wizard.
Merfolk Wizard. It also has you may cast Harbinger of the Tides as though it had flash if you pay 2 more to cast it, so you can cast it as a 4-mana creature. And it has a triggered ability. When Harbinger of the Tides enters the battlefield, you may return target tapped creature an opponent controls to its owner's hand. So it's a conditional mana war, but a 2-mana conditional 2-mana mana war is pretty good.
There's a lot of mana, isn't it?
Yeah. The only problem with this is it's a blue aggressive creature, so standard pretty much it has to go into Blue Devotion.
Right.
This is like the only deck that it's going to slot into. Like I don't think you want to play this and in a control deck.
And last time when we were reviewing Shore Crasher Elemental, we were talking about the lack of a good
The 2-drop,
blue,
yeah,
blue 2-drop. This
Right.
is certainly a good blue.
absolutely. No, yeah, no, I
Probably
completely
need another
agree.
one, but
I'm just saying it's not a very flexible card. It's basically it's a one-trick pony. It's like you're going in blue aggro, and that's it. Also interesting, like it'll be interesting to see if Modern Merfolk wants to play this card at all. Maybe like possibly main deck over.
I mean, this card really, really loves Aether Vial.
yeah,
Yeah, it loves Aether Vial. It definitely is. It's not just good like in little situations. Also like, oh, look, cool. Splinters and resolves. Oh, tap it. Hold on. So, I think this card's going to see a lot of play. It may not be in standard, but it's definitely it's got a good creature type, and a strong ability. So it's gonna find a home.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
All right, I'll take this next one since I got some raised eyes about this one. I'm going off some Twitter rumbling here. Okay, leave me be. But the next card is Hydrolash. You were expecting Jace, weren't you? Hold on. Hydrolash is blue or 2 colors in a blue instant. Attacking creatures get -2/-0 until end of turn. Draw a card. Now this is a sort of a common effect, at least in these core sets, these limited formats of varying degrees. They've gotten closer and closer to being playable, and this is the one like I did think of it, and I saw some tweets about this card being sort of interesting in like a blue-black build, which again doesn't really want to play main deck like too many main deck like Drown and Sorrow effects. But with Languish being the new hotness, like this is your bridge card, like it puts if Spell Mastery is a thing, or your Delve obviously being a thing, it puts an instant in your graveyard, it cantrips, and it fogs an early attack from an aggro deck. So like if the red deck is like, okay, cool, like here's Rival Master, here's these tokens, instead of having to try and kill it, you can just go, okay, Hydrolash your board, untap Languish, and you've not lost a card. So it's definitely interesting, and it curves well. So I thought this was at least interesting for that matter, and that's where I've been seeing it getting some. Sometimes you forget about cards like these, but even cards like Gridlock or something like that, where it's like tap X target creatures, or like these sort of wonky blue spells that hide in these core sets or hide in these uncommons. Like sometimes it can just be really good and be exactly what you need in your deck.
yeah. I'll be honest. I looked at this card and I was like, oh, okay, it's one of those, and then I just skipped over it. But you made some good points. That might actually be a thing. I mean, yeah, the fact that it says draw a card on it makes it a lot more playable than it otherwise would be. I don't know if it'll actually see play, but that's a good point. I mean, I could see maybe
Ding.
even like sideboard.
Ding!
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right.
You.
It's a pretty good limited card.
Shut up. You just shut up.
All right, so the next card we have is Jace, Rin's Prodigy. So it's Colorless and a blue for a 0/2. It has the ability of tap, draw a card, then discard a card. So basically Merfolk Looter ability. If there are 5 or more cards in your graveyard, exile Jace, Rin's Prodigy, then return to the battlefield transformed under his owner's control. And then the Planeswalker side is Jace, Telepath Unbound, starts with 5 loyalty. +1 is up to 1 target creature gets -2/-0 until your next turn. -3, you may cast target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard this turn. If that card would be put into your graveyard this turn, exile it instead. And it has a -9 of you get an emblem with whenever you cast a spell, target opponent puts the top 5 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. I think this is the worst Planeswalker by a fair margin in the set, but there have been some standard formats where Merfolk Looter was playable, I guess.
There have been a few standard formats where he's been playable, and this card would be a lot better if it was a May.
Yeah.
If you could just, no, Jay, stay here. Stay here. Just draw me cards.
Please.
Don't go away yet. Hold on.
Please,
It'd
I
be
don't want
so-
you to grow up.
It'd be so flavorful too, because you could be like the guy, like oh man, you don't want to know your Planeswalker, erase your memories. No, you don't want to know your Planeswalker. If you read the story for him, it would actually make sense.
No,
as
it
a
makes
Planeswalker.
makes perfect sense.
So I don't know if this is the worst one. We'll get to what I think is the worst one, and it hurts my soul to think the one that I do.
It goes against every fiber
It
of your
does.
being.
All of the most recent ones have done so much good for me.
I know.
Anyways, Jace is really weird because your opponent probably won't care. Like, so let's think about this. Like, if you had a Jace fight against you,
It's so bad they
like
won't care.
that's what I'm saying. Like, it's in this weird space where like you may actually not care, but every time, like even if you get to loot with it 2 or 3 times before you flip it, that's value out of your 2-drop. And then if you get to flip it, like if you get to like get 1 spell back. Like, again, I'm not saying this is, like, I guess I'm not really giving a good reason to play the card, because I'm telling you it's not, but it's also one of those Planeswalkers where, like think like Vraska, where Vraska would get cast and they would, like, destroy a permanent. You would probably ignore it for the next 3 turns. Like, oh, this is going to tick up. I really don't care. Like, this is where Jace sort of sits, where it's like, oh, I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing anything. Flashback dig through time. You're like, wait, what? Oh, you did something. Why? When did you start doing things? So it's sort of interesting, at least from that angle.
And the timing works out on his loyalty abilities, where he flips, he casts you a spell, and then they have their turn, you plus them, they have another turn to stop you from casting another spell.
Right.
So, I still wish he just stayed a creature the whole time. But I don't think he's as bad as Dave says.
This
I don't think it'll see any play.
this card feels a lot like Narset. And Narset can sometimes draw
Yeah.
you a card.
That's what I was gonna say. Like the -3, like when you say like, oh man, you can -3 and dig through time. I was like, didn't we talk about Narset? Like, oh man, you can like rebound a dig through time. It's like,
I mean,
is
yeah,
that-
you're absolutely right.
is that
Like,
good?
neither of
I
them
don't
win
know.
the game by themselves. That's going to be
Yeah.
the biggest strike against them.
No, like I get it. Like the fact that you have to do the -3, but like the -3 ability is the biggest draw. I would say. Like I think everybody would agree. And like the fact that you have to do it as a sorcery, like really cuts down like kind of the number of cool things that you can do with
And
it.
you have to jump through a bunch of mage rings to do it.
Congratulations.
I
win.
will accept my prize now.
I think we spent too much time on this card.
Yeah, your prize is
let's
to
move
read
on.
the next card.
All right, so I put the next card in here. We don't have to say much about it. But I put in Jace's Sanctum, which is 3 and a blue for an enchantment. Instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, scry 1. Now, I'm going to tell you the specific story about this. We like opened this in our prize packs. My wife looked at this card and she goes, I really like this card. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, what does it do? And she's like, I have no idea. You know what I mean? And it's one of those weird engine cards where, I mean, they've printed cards like this before. I remember the zombie one that like made zombie spells.
They've actually printed this card before, kinda.
Yeah,
It's
really
what
close.
arcane something.
Oh, I was going to say it's Goblin Electromancer. But
Yeah,
no.
it is.
Yeah.
There's printed this, but the thing is, most of the times they have printed this effect, it's seen play. I said even the zombie one, literally there was a combo deck where it was like, oh, like it was a rooftop storm, where like it was an infinite combo deck with it and it saw play. Obviously Electromancer sees a lot of play, but it's a 2-drop. So
Yeah, absolutely.
but this is an interesting engine card. Like, you're not going to play this over something like, it's like obviously like Jeskai Ascendancy or anything like that. But it's in that same realm where like this lets you chain a bunch of spells together and ensure that you keep drawing spells. So like if I sat down across from somebody and they were like, oh yeah, cool, like do like play Jace, start like milling cards and like, oh, and then play this Jace's Sanctum, I would just be like, all right, I'm not surprised you're playing this. I don't know what the hell you're doing with it, but it's just one of those. And like I said, it's a weird engine piece that definitely will build momentum if you can find the deck that can abuse it.
Yeah, it's an engine card to keep in the back of your mind. It's worth thinking about.
I was thinking about Arcane Melee, which is 2 less. Excuse me, 2 less.
There's no scries there, Bo.
Yeah, it costs 1 more as
I was
well.
gonna say bro
so.
when I said Bo. I apologize. I don't know
Bo.
why I said Bo.
Sorry to all bows out there.
Let's have to say blowy, right?
Yeah, we all say some things we regret. Whatever. I say a lot more than some people. Whatever.
Hashtag callback. All right, next one.
If anybody got that reference, then
You're a true fan.
yeah, you're a true fan.
I'll
Congrats.
pass my prize for the majoring joke on to you.
Again, the price is nothing, so
All
They
right.
can still have it though.
So the
it
next
is
card,
easy to mail. All right, you can go on. Sorry.
So the next card we have is Mizium Meddler, 2 colorless and a blue for a Vidalcan Wizard. It's a 1/4 flash, and when it enters the battlefield, you may change a target of target spell or ability to Mizium Meddler. So this is kind of a spell skite that you need to leave 3 open to use.
One-time use spell skite.
Yeah.
Disposable spell skite, like the cameras.
Here's
Yeah.
your
Yes.
irrelevant column.
People don't know what those are anymore.
Exactly.
I've already been blown out by this in Two-Headed Giant and Type 4.
Oh, done. Yeah, constructed all-star.
So I think so. I didn't really think much of this card when I first saw it, but I believe Patrick Chapin was talking about it, and he said it's kind of like a counter spell for a Doomblade. If that's the worst thing it's doing, then I guess. I don't know. I think it's too situational. I don't know. I think like so in modern, like you're obviously going to play spell
You're just going to play
instead,
Spellskite.
right?
Spellskite's just
And
a
then
lot
in
better.
standard, it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing with this card? I don't understand.
I mean, this could just be like an effect they want on another card, which I can understand. It could be there could be something where you want to have that effect, coming out later, where you just want to protect a certain threat, and maybe that's the case. But as of right now, I don't see the implications of this card, but they could be out there.
You can like counter a lightning strike with value. Like it stays
Yes,
alive, so maybe you
sure.
can block.
Maybe they're going to print this crazy X spell in Battle for Zendikar, and they just had to get the safety valve in there first.
Right, exactly. You just never know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a cool card for sure. I just don't think it's good enough for standard, but
Yeah, we'll see.
whatever.
It is an interesting effect. Again, it's like one of those cards that it's kind of nice to know it exists. Like, I just need to protect this thing. Well, then you have this card, and you can protect your card. So, maybe. I'm not holding my breath on it, though.
No. All right. Mike stepped out for a second, so you want to take this one more?
Sure.
I don't know why this one's on the
I
list.
have no
but
idea.
Sure.
And
We're going to have to have a talk with Mike.
It almost feels like we're doing it an injustice by talking about it and him not being here to defend it in any way, shape, or form. So let's rip it apart. Psychic Rebuttal. 1 in a blue for an instant, and it says counter target instant or sorcery spell that targets you. This effect was Outwit, I think, was the effect of this card for a blue, even. I don't know. I can't remember.
Blue white one too from some set, right? It's
Yeah.
like just counter a spell that targets you, draw a card.
Yeah, something like that. If I'm getting a blue card wrong, I'm sorry. And it has spell mastery, so if you meet the spell mastery terms, you may choose new targets for the copy. You can copy the spell and choose new targets for the copy. So, like, that's cool. I mean, if this card had come out and Bonfire of the Damned was still a card, oh boy, that would have been fun.
I guess I'd probably just rather play a negate or something.
Oh, obviously. But I mean, I wouldn't want to deprive another person of being able to copy Bonfire of the Damned and cast it against the person that tried to bonfire you. Hey, listen, Brian Kibler would have wanted that card.
The real reason this is on the list, Mike loves copying spells. Remember his sleeper pick from cons?
Yeah, I guess that's
Howl
true.
of the Horde?
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, clearly he's just like, if you just gotta copy spells, man, that's all you get to do. It's super narrow. Like, what? So Thoughtseize.
Yeah. I was gonna say like you can counter Thoughtseize and then Thoughtseize them.
If
you're
they're
doing it late
Thoughtseize you
game-
and like
Yeah, it's like I don't understand this one, but Anyway,
I mean, we can only spin our wheels so much on this card that we just don't get that he has on here. We'll revisit it. He'll have a chance. He'll have a chance to defend it. So let's move on to the other card that I also don't know why it's on here.
this is a
No, I know it's on here. We need to talk about it because it looks like another card, but it's not nearly as good.
Yeah. Sphinx's tutelage.
Yep.
So Sphinx's tutelage is 2 colorless and a blue for an enchantment. It's an uncommon. If it's kind of relevant for me.
Okay, yeah, true.
And it says whenever you draw a card, target opponent puts the top 2 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. If they're both non-land cards that share a color, repeat this process. And also has an activated ability of 5 colors and a blue. Draw a card, then discard a card. I kind of feel like when this might have just have said 6 mana draw a card, and they're like, well, no, that's way too good. We gotta make it loot 6 mana. I don't know. I don't think this card is entirely unplayable.
Okay.
I don't think it's great, but if you get this in multiples, it's kind of gross. I don't think you're gonna count on milling more than 2 at a time.
Yeah,
very many times.
no Painter Servant, and also not non-land.
No,
Non-land hurts it so much.
But
makes me sad.
I could see a world where in a control mirror you'd want to play something like this.
I suppose it also matters how many tricolor decks we still have.
Yeah. Again, I'm not even looking at the fact that it could mill 2 more cards. I'm just looking at it okay, it mills 2 when you draw a card and you can loot sometimes. And then if you get to mill bonus cards, that's it's exactly that. It's a bonus. So I don't know. I think that's how it should be evaluated.
I feel like this card just because it's so. Again, you don't have to invest anything in it. I think you're evaluating that way where it's just essentially you're clocking your opponent in a control deck without having to do anything. Sometimes it's gonna rare cases it's gonna do more. Sometimes it's gonna let you do something helpful, but otherwise
Yeah, I don't hate the card. I'm just saying I don't think you should expect to just mill them out in 2 turns or something like that.
Oh no, I don't think that's.
Nah.
God, this isn't Scalpel X's.
No. So, are we done with this one?
Are you going to put it in your cube?
I'm thinking about it. Oh man, thinking about it. Might have to bring back that millstone. Maybe.
That sounds miserable, but okay.
I mean, if I put that in, then I have to put the Aether Flash deck in. So, I mean, there's got to be something that
All
beats
right,
Aether
I'm
Flash.
all of a sudden on board.
But I think I don't think you put Millstone with this deck. I don't think you need to have Mill as any other theme. You just play this in a control deck and you're just drawing cards anyways. You don't want to Millstone them. You want to cast Compulsive Research and this is a cube and target yourself and then mill your opponent for 6.
Yeah,
that's how you want to play the card.
Or more.
Or more.
Maybe.
Actually, in cube that's impossible, right? Isn't
I
it?
don't know.
Oh, share color. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Again, I said Scalpel X's in my mind. I'm sharing name.
So, Mike, we got to backtrack for a second here. Why
Sure.
is Psychic Rebuttal on the list? we couldn't figure out why it was here.
You guys don't pay attention to anything. Psychic Rebuttal is getting tossed around as sideboard tech for Modern against Burn.
Okay.
I mean,
I didn't even think about it in the context of
people were
Modern.
talking about going to Delver and in Grixis Delver, if you're in the Burn Mirror, you're countering their Lightning Bolt and bolting them, triggering your Pyromancer. It's again. I went through cards that other people have mentioned, pros have mentioned. Okay, I did my homework for this. Deal with it.
Now you've got my attention.
Yeah.
Delver, you say?
all right, we're just idiots. Congratulations, you win
That's
again.
not what I'm saying. I'm being defensive because you're not expanding your mind.
We just thought it was because it copies a spell, and we know how much you like that.
We brought up Howl of the Horde. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I don't
those are
know.
dark
It's a Mike
times.
card, Howl of the Horde,
Nah,
whatever.
This one, I guess, especially in those matches, it's essentially a negate against Burn. But again, if you're racing Burn, this has a little more upside. It's a narrow side with cards that have to earn its slot. But there's a couple other scenarios where copying this, copying us certain Burn spells, especially against certain combo decks, or
Which I'll tell you, if you're playing Delver, you just always have spell mastery. It's just,
it's
you just automatic.
guaranteed.
You cast it on turn 2, you're like, oh yeah, just count, yeah.
because you played Thought Scour turn 1. Let's be honest.
Yeah, exactly.
So imagine they went turn 1 Goblin Guide and you Thought Scoured, and then they tried to play a Lightning Bolt or whatever else on you, and you just killed their Goblin Guide instead.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That's the scenario where this card can shine.
That sounds
Okay.
cool.
Sounds cool. All right. We have one more blue card. Mike, you want to take this one?
We have Thropter Spy Network, which is awesome. Thopter Spy Network, 2 blue for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control an artifact, put a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying onto the battlefield. Whenever one or more artifact creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, draw a card. And Dave's laughing because Mythic Spoiler says other cards like this include Bitter Blossom.
It's like Bitter Blossom plus Coastal Piracy. You just staple them together.
No,
Same thing.
I put together a list this time, and you can very much say I put some wonky engine cards on this list, like Sphinx's Tutelage and like Jason Sanctum. This is the real one, though. This is the one that I think that has the highest upside. Oh, and Keller's all derisive. So
I certainly like this card. I don't know if it's ever going to be played, but
man.
I certainly like this card.
You have Darksteel Citadel in the format right now.
Yeah.
Right now, waiting for you. There's so many synergies though with like I said, a couple of these cards at the common and uncommon level that that put Thopter tokens into play are already like borderline anyways. So the synergy, like again, we haven't built synergy decks in standard probably in a long time. So I understand how derisive it is, but this card by itself only needs the first one, and then they have to do the work to make sure. Like, you don't have to do anything else. You just get to make Thopters and draw an extra card a turn. Like, they have to do the work to stop it. And I think that's what makes this card powerful.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this card. This is probably one of my favorite cards in the whole set. I'm kind of with Keller with, like, it's really cool, and it could be really good. But I don't know. I mean, with all the Dromoka's commands running around, it's going to make this one a little tough to break into standard. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I hope it is good.
It's also hard when you take a look at something like it fights against Bite of Thassa as well.
I don't think it does though. Like it does a similar effect. I agree with you on that. But Bite of Thassa doesn't make a 1/1 every turn.
True.
If Bite of Thassa said make a 1/1 every turn, yes, it'd be great. But I think that's the real key here. Is that I'd say like, and obviously we have to assess like Dromoka's command or whatever. Hopefully, as we go into Battle for Zendikar, the format will shift so that you don't have to worry about 40% of the format having access to a main deck card that kills an enchantment. You know what I mean? So you can be comfortable playing this card more consistently.
Biden of Thassa goes in an aggressive deck because the second ability lets you get a creature through.
Right.
This one goes in a more controlling deck in case you just need a string of blockers.
True.
So
Fair
they
enough.
do play different rules.
I was playing devil's advocate. I know people have been making that comparison, so
You devil.
it's important to have a distinction there. I really like this card. I really hope it sees play. I really want there to be a blue-red artifact deck in standard, like really bad for no reason at all.
You want to play blue cards?
I do.
Chandra may be bad, but her parents are awesome.
Yeah. All right, so that's blue. Blue's okay. I don't know. I am not a one to evaluate blue. I'm passing it on to someone else. How
again,
is blue?
Let me say this. And granted, sealed is not an indicator of constructed, but in the one pre-release I got to do, it was uncapped. You could choose your colors, whatever. We didn't have a blue player.
Oh.
Not a single person chose blue.
Oh.
So I don't want that to be an indicator of what's going on here. I think most of the blue cards are like companion pieces or engines that have to be built around. Like none of these cards seem like you should play this card because it's powerful by itself. You need to play it with other things. So maybe Days Undoing. I apologize, but even Days Undoing still needs the cards around it. Like most of these cards, I don't know. They can do things, but they don't feel like they're not the reason you play blue. You're playing blue, so maybe you'll play some of these cards. At least that's my opinion on it.
Cool.
So let's go to black.
Yeah. First up.
All right. I guess I'll start here. So first for black is Dark Petition. 3 black sorcery. Search your library for a card, then put that card in your hand, then shuffle your library. Spell Mastery. If there are 2 or more instant and or sorcery cards in your graveyard, add 3 black to your mana pool. Tutor effects are always worth taking a look at. That being said, the real draw to this one is the 3 mana you get afterwards, because otherwise you probably wouldn't be playing this Diabolic Tutor. Didn't see a lot of play.
Playing worse Diabolic Tutor. Yeah.
But it's interesting. Like when you look at, you have to evaluate it in the format that also has Sidisi, which the Sidisi, if you get the body, is obviously better. But this, like, say, like, all right, I have to kill this now. Like if you if you have Sidisi in this card, and it's like I have to kill that creature now. I need to search for Hero's Downfall. With Sidisi, you can't cast it. With Dark Petition, you may be able to cast it, and that's really where the upside of this card comes from.
Yeah. Also, your CDC can be countered by a Hero's Downfall. But this
Awkward.
one can't. So I mean, I guess it depends on the construction of your deck. Obviously, if you're a more heavy creature deck, CDC is probably going to be better. because the body's relevant. But
What are you laughing about?
So I was gonna call this card Demonic Ritual because it's Demonic Tutor and Dark Ritual
Yeah.
stapled together, and I wanted to make sure that wasn't already a card, so they don't know
You
all the
Googled
cards.
demonic ritual.
I did. And the first Google search result is how to summon demons, and I just laughed because it's definitely an Angel Fire website, and I was just like, Angel Fire? That's still alive, first of all? That's still hosted? So it just made me laugh. But no, this card's Demonic Ritual.
Anyways,
It has nothing to do with the evaluation of the card, but it is hilarious, and I hope everyone laughed as much as I did.
I've been to Morgan's house, and his floor in the basement definitely has a little chalk star on it. I didn't know what it was for. I know now.
we might need to rename this episode. Can we just call it "Don't Google Demonic Ritual"?
Listen, that's gonna live in my Google search results forever. It's great. It's worth it.
You're on some kind of watch list now. So.
Probably. I don't know. This card is interesting, I guess, but I don't know. I don't see it necessarily cracking standard.
It's hard to say anything new about it that we didn't say about Sidisi.
Yeah, that's
It's got
100% accurate.
Cool Gristlebrand art.
It kind of has. You play it, search for removal spell, cast removal spell. I mean, like you said, you can't do a Sidisi, but I like the idea of searching for a removal spell that I already have in my hand, and then casting another copy of it so they don't expect the next one. But you could do that with Sidisi too. So again, we can't say anything more about this card. I don't know.
Combo cube card. There you go.
It's probably
Boom.
true. Though, 5 mana minus 3 mana is 2 mana, so demonic tutor still just the best tutor.
Well, yeah, obviously, but any kind of tutor.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
it's
it
fine.
definitely goes in.
All right. We're gonna talk about this card again.
I mean, we could.
Demonic
more.
Pact.
I mean, we can just mention it.
Demonic
I think
Pact.
we can at least
It's
get Keller's
sweet.
thoughts.
I mean, you guys summed it up last time pretty much. I mean, we talked about it a lot before you guys even had a cast, so I think a lot of my thoughts came in there too. So
Oh, fair enough. We like it.
yeah, we like it.
We don't have to do with it.
We don't
There's
know. We don't know how to
engine
play
cards.
it. We don't know
There's-
how to play it, but we like it.
So we have Star City Chicago this week. I really hope that we see this card on camera.
Yeah.
That's all I want. I just want to see Demonic Pact.
if it's in a list by even a closely known player name, they'll put it on camera.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah.
this could be bad because I'm going to be at my brother's wedding, and you guys are going to send messages in, and I'm going to get in trouble for
like,
oh
God, I didn't even think of that.
Just got to put a little bit of Twitch up. Hold on, guys. Yeah, you do. I get it.
I've been to these before. It's all right. Just be really rude and be like, it won't be your last.
All right, let's move on then quickly to Despoiler of Souls. Black for a creature horror, 3/1. It cannot block. It has the ability for black exile 2 other creature cards from your graveyard, return Despoiler of Souls from your graveyard to the battlefield. So we mentioned this creature a little bit. A 3/1 for 2 is not really a bad rate. It's important to know that as far as aggressive decks in standard, like mono black aggro has been a thing off and on for a while, and now with this and the champion, you have 2 creatures that can recur like consistently. So like if you look at some of the aggro decks and you look at like something like Languish, which we'll get to, your deck definitely needs to be able to get through that card. And mono black says I've got at least 2 creatures that can keep coming back, which any aggro deck that can gain a little bit of card advantage is at least taking a look at. Is worth taking a look at.
And with the next card we're going to talk about, Erebos' Titan, we have maybe a return of Great Merchant of Asphodel.
Yeah, just like you have Harbinger, of the Tides having 2 blue mana symbols, Despoiler of Souls having 2 black mana symbols is really relevant. And again, yeah, Dave, you got the next one here.
Yeah. I was gonna say it really kind of feels like. Well, let me talk about this card, then we'll roll into
sure.
that. So Erebos' Titan. This is another one of the mythics of the set. So it cost colorless and then triple black, so it was 4 mana total for a 5/5 giant. As long as your opponents control no creatures, Erebos' Titan has indestructible. It also has the ability, whenever a creature card leaves an opponent's graveyard, you may discard a card. If you do, return Erebos' Titan from your graveyard to your hand. Interesting to note, it doesn't necessarily have to be exiled.
Mm-hmm.
So if they recur something out of their graveyard, or
Cough,
say
cough.
cold, say
Dead Protector, cough,
well,
cough.
yeah, Den Protector,
Deathmas Raptor comes out of the graveyard.
Haven of
Right,
Spirit Dragon.
Right. Kolaghan's Command returns something. Not in standard, probably. But it's interesting wording. I think they easily could have put Exile on there and it still would have been okay. That's actually what I thought it said when I first saw it. But yeah, I mean, again, obviously heavy black requirement. So, I mean, maybe there's a black aggro devotion, with the top end of Grey Merchant.
They call
possibly?
it aggravation.
Aggravation.
I do want to mention that the wording on that is actually really flavorful, because it's like when a soul escapes the underworld, he has to go out and get it.
Well, if you look at it too, the sort of the armor is sort of reminiscent of like Grave Titan, whereas Grave Titan was like made of zombies. Well, Erebos' Titan's armor is made of like the gold masks of the Returned. So like the idea is like he goes and catches you and he just kind of shoves like you're never getting away. Like you in my chest now.
He was in Gideon's storyline, right?
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
And then Erebos killed all of Gideon's friends.
All of his irregulars. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so we'll see if maybe these work together. I mean, definitely, Erebos Titan is definitely very pushed to me. Like, it seems like it's a weird card. It feels mythic, and it's pretty powerful. Like a black creature that's a 5/5 just for I mean, like it's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say on the last card, like this is definitely you can definitely tell that they were careful about printing like multiple mana symbols on a card for a little while. They're like, all right, devotion might be a little too good, so let's cut back on that a little bit. And this is the last set before they were supposed to say, so like, whatever, triple black, triple white,
This
let's
is
get
like
them all in there.
end of the night at the party when like the fat guy's unbuttoned the top of his shirt and he's like singing karaoke. Like, yeah, let it all out. I don't even care anymore.
That was
Me.
really interesting.
I don't know. It's hard to be like, oh, with all these cards, like I'm mono black. It's like, yeah, but you have Pack Rat in that deck, and Pack Rat's a really good card. And like, you also had
I don't think any of
Univault.
us are claiming the return.
Yeah,
of,
but a lot of people are.
well, I mean, to be fair, they also said the return of mono black control for a long time, and then even when it was happening, they couldn't believe it. Like,
I also like this card outside of just mono black. It's hard to cast, but it's still just a grindy card.
no, I've already seen some blue black lists, like just like doing like cockatrice testing and such, that have like this has been like like something like you're not expecting. Like they're playing traditional blue black, and all of a sudden they're just like, oh, by the way, like Urborg, this guy. And I was
Yeah.
like, whoa, what
I
just
was about
happened?
to say we
Like-
still have Urborg, so that does
like-
make this guy a little bit easier to
It was
cast
like,
for
oh,
a while.
whoa, I don't know. Just, like you're not supposed to play creatures. Why are you playing a 5/5? So it's interesting. All right, the next one is I put in here Eyeblight Massacre. So it's 2 black sorcery non-elf creatures get -2/-2 until end of turn. Now you might raise your eyebrow and go, so I mean we have Languish, right? However, non-elf is a pretty big deal when they've pushed elf tribal so hard in Origins alone. Like there are some really solid elves in this set, and then we're going back to Zendikar.
There will be elves in Zendikar, so
So I mean, like playing, there's enough of these elves that have powerful triggers that they might have access to this card where it's like, okay, I'm playing like black green elves, and I need a way to deal with mono red. Oh, how do I wipe their board and not mine? Eyeblight Massacre. So this is the kind of like one-sided effect that when it's good, it's obscenely good. So if you're building elves and you're gonna have black mana, you should probably have this new sideboard.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that. If elves is a thing, if green black elves specifically is a thing, I could see this very well being like their, sweeper, and that's really powerful to have a Plague Wind in your aggro deck.
In your aggro deck.
Yeah,
Man, I mean, I don't want to. I'm not comparing this card to Bonfire, but I mean, Bonfire.
it doesn't make it doesn't make
All
Kibler
right.
sad. So
All
It could.
right.
It could make Kibler sad. You don't know yet.
nah, he'd be playing elves if elves is real.
That's fair.
Next card. All right, we have Gilt Leaf Winnower. I really like this card a lot, actually. So it's 3 colorless black for a 4/3 elf warrior. Has menace, so it can't be blocked except by 2 or more creatures. And when it enters the battlefield, you may destroy target non-elf creature whose power and toughness aren't equal. So it's really interesting ability, but that's a flavor thing, right?
yeah,
Isn't it for with the Lorwyn
destroy
elves?
target eye blight is what it
Yeah.
says.
Yeah. So that's pretty sweet. I like this card a lot. There's a lot of things that it kills if you think about it in standard. So Siege Rhino is probably the first thing that comes to mind, but
Tassiger as well.
yeah, Tassiger, Courser Recruitfix.
Technically Ojutai.
Yeah, technically Ojutai.
Bramaz.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's actually like I wasn't very high on this card when I first saw it, but then people just like literally as I was like going through, people were like, well, what about this card? Oh, it kills this card too, and it kills this card. And I was like, well, yeah, you're right. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a Necrotal with a bigger body that's harder to block. Like I don't know, like this card could see constructed play. I would not be surprised at all.
I think this card could see modern play as well. It kind of slots into the Shriek Maul slot, where sometimes you're not very happy in playing a Shriek Maul, but
Kills Shriekmaw too.
Does kill Shriek Maul.
and the restrictions on Shriek Maul sometimes matter. So I mean, this is kind of a different restriction, obviously, but it might be something. It's something to pay attention to.
Always kills Tarmogoyf.
Yeah,
True.
ain't that the truth?
All right. Yeah, so I think that's definitely one of the black cards to watch for sure. All right.
Before we move on, I do want to mention Naruto Trapper.
No.
Again,
No,
just for the same fact that we mentioned Eye Blight Massacre. If the elf deck is a thing, this is Trapper is one of the things that makes it a thing. Allows you to have another 1-mana accelerant to cast your elf creatures specifically, and then makes your deck more aggressive by allowing your creatures to trade profitably or get through. So
This second ability is actually really good.
yeah. So it's Naruto Chopper is 1 black for a 1/1, pay 1 life, tap, pay 1 life, add 1 green mana to your mana pool, spend this to cast elf creature spells, and then tap target attacking elf you control gains death touch until end of turn. So I think that it is a really important card that I don't think anyone's really overlooking, but it is important to note for the standard constructed elf deck if it exists.
Yeah. I mean, if there is a green black elf deck, then it will play this card.
Yeah, it'll be an important part to it.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, good point. Next card. Next time on At Your End Stuff. Infinite Obliterations. Do they pique your interest?
How many?
Infinite.
Oh, okay. Is that sideways 8 symbol I see all the time?
All right, this is a black colorless sorcery. Name a creature card, search target opponent's graveyard, hand, and library for any number of cards with that name and exile them, then that player shuffles his or her library. We've seen this effect printed a number of times recently. They like to go back to the well here, but I think it's important, especially after we just had that conversation with Sod, like talking about like Siege Rhino, like they're happy with what Siege Rhino does, but they want to make sure that everyone has answers for everything. So it's like, okay, if you really hate Siege Rhino, you can play this card. It's going to be pretty bad most of the time, but the bad man won't cast any more Siege Rhinos.
I gotta be honest. I really hate Deathmist Raptor, but I still wouldn't play this card.
but you could obliterate all of them
Yeah.
infinitely.
I
Why couldn't they
mean,
just print? What was the black card from? Was it or is this Destiny?
the one that
Eradicate?
Eradicate.
Eradicate. Yeah. If they printed that, that would have been awesome.
Yeah, because if they have 2 Deathmist Raptors in play, you can't even infinite obliterate them, right?
Correct.
Yep.
So this is one of those weird cards where like in the scenario where it's great, like you've cast it and your opponent has like 1 or 2 of them in hand, and like you've gotten to discard and everything. Or in the worst case scenario, they had none of them, and like you actually may just still lose or win the game based on the say like, oh, you never would have drawn one of these anyways. It didn't even matter. So I don't think there's anything in standard that actually needs this card, but.
This is one of those cards that I'll never cast because I don't like this effect.
Yeah.
But that someone will cast against me, I'll lose to it, and I'll be upset.
I mean,
I was playing the Sultai control deck, and somebody cast whatever the Memoricide is of this format on Ugin. No more ways to win. Just annoying.
yeah, it feels like a lot of these times these effects are traps, and I feel like a lot of people are like, "Oh, this is so powerful," but it's like even if you remove, if you hit it the 4 of your opponents, obviously, may not get to the point of the game where they'd even cast all 4 of those against you. So how many cards are you actually hitting realistically?
Right.
The effects when this happens, like. You have the uncounterable one, which can be powerful because just with the sheer fact that it is uncounterable. But I mean, like this, it just doesn't seem good enough.
But yeah, I guess someone's going to play this. Don't let it be you.
Yeah, it's a trap, as Admiral Akbar would say.
Though I guess if Esper Dragons is still really popular, naming Ojutai is a pretty swift kick. Because
guess.
I only throw that out there just because like if you name Ojutai and like it resolves, then like not only does it like get rid of all their Ojutais, but also makes all of their scorns a lot worse. So like you're almost hitting 2 cards with it. Almost. This is the only. I'm trying to think of one scenario.
We'll have to see if it people actually start adopting this card.
I
Then they'll
guess.
have to play like 3 Ojutais and maybe another different win condition.
I can't see this
don't
card
know.
getting enough play to warp that though.
I don't think so either.
All right, Dave, you got a good one.
Oh, is it? Oh, Languish. Yeah, that one's good. 2 colors.
That's
black,
it.
Black.
That's all we'll say about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's good.
2 colors,
Moving
black,
on.
black. It's good. All right,
Dead out
Liliana. No, all creatures get -4/-4 until end of turn. So this is a card that's been talked about a lot in this set.
You guys have talked about it
we
a
have.
lot too.
Yeah.
One thing I'd like to point out is this artwork is wrong. This should be a dead Mantis Rider because that entire deck dies this card.
Facts. Fact.
It's just like
It's just like Ojutai, Mantis Rider,
Stormbreath Dragon.
Rabble Master.
It's
they're all
Everything
dead.
dies
it's the guy
in that
off,
deck.
like the guy's mantis is dead and he's trying to wake it up like the rain core in Return of the Jedi.
That guy's so sad. Oh, I feel for that
It's
man.
actually unreal. Yeah, don't you like that? He like is really sad.
It was an unloved creature, but he loved it.
Everyone needs love.
true.
I will say this card's going in battle box. So, as a Wrath Effective Bridges, it's pretty nice.
No,
Yeah,
I think
I
that's
mean,
fine. Not having to buy a damnation sounds
Also,
pretty good.
Also great.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a highly constructed playable card.
It is an awkward space. You have Crux of Fate and you have End Hostilities in the format, and those are cards that do very specific things. And
all the cards do very specific things.
but I mean, so it's a very specific like destroy everything
Oh, right.
or destroy all dragons or non-dragons. This one also only works in certain decks, and we'll have to see how the format plays out to see whether it's better in something like Abzan Control over Crux of Fate or even End Hostilities. You definitely can build your deck in a way to maximize this effect, but then again, you still have disadvantages of losing to cards that don't die to this. So
Yeah, I mean they purposely, made it that way. So I think in the Abzan control decks you may even see a mix of this and Crux of Fate. So
I know this is not because Tarkir is not in the core set, but this is definitely like a Sultai card, right? Like Tassiger survives Languish, and there's alligators, which is what the Sultai did, right? Like, just saying. So, yeah, I think this card's really good. So let's go see its on play.
yeah,
That's all I got.
don't disagree with that.
Next card. All right. Next one is Liliana, Heretical Healer, which is 1 black for a legendary creature, human cleric. She's a 2/3 with lifelink. She says, whenever another non-token creature you control dies, exile Liliana, Heretical Healer, then return her to the battlefield transformed under her owner's control. If you do, put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield. And then her flip side is, and I don't have her stupid mythic spoiler.
I got it.
What's her name?
you click.
Liliana, Defiant Necromancer.
There it is. You're right. Liliana, Defiant Necromancer. Okay, so she says she comes in with 3 loyalty. Says +2. Each player discards a card. So the sort of the Liliana the Veil effect. -X. Return target non-legendary creature card with converted mana cost X from your graveyard to the battlefield. -8. You get an emblem with whenever a creature dies, return to the battlefield under your control at the beginning of the next end step. So we've said a lot about her. She definitely is one of the more powerful planeswalkers, at least in the bubble. Like her planeswalker abilities are powerful as a creature. Like she gets a fair amount of value for her trigger. And we've said before, like a 2/3 lifelink isn't the worst body and effect in the world. Definitely, I think she's a little awkward, if only because her +2, like Liliana the Veil, like I felt like the format and the deck construction, you could really build around that. But like this one, you can't count on that ability, so it's hard to build cater your deck to being good with it. You also see here that the -X like says non-legendary, which makes sure you can't do too many broken things with it, but also they were really working hard, like with this card and like Woodland Bellower, trying to get away from you, like rezzing all your planeswalkers.
Yeah, I was gonna say that definitely feels like it's something that they changed maybe late in development. Like, you know what, we don't want to have Liliana get all the other.
Yeah, like, oh,
back.
cool. -X return Nisa. Like, wait a minute. Like, Nisa shouldn't be a zombie under Lily. We can't let this happen. So, I think overall Liliana to me has been overrated. I've seen a lot of people talking about how good she's going to be in like Collected Company, this and that. Like, her planeswalker abilities aren't great to me. Like, she's got to do a lot of work to get like. She almost feels like Jace to me, where like her +2 is again, it's hard and standard for you to make that like to mitigate that hurting you as well as your opponent. And then you get like what 1 -X and you hope it's a good enough creature. Like with Jace, you hope it's a good enough spell. Like I think the best thing about her is you get a zombie token when she transforms.
See,
So
I feel like it's underrated, so that's weird that you thought it's overrated. I really like this card. I think the fact, and I've said this before, I think that the fact that you get a 2/2 zombie when it transforms is really relevant. That provides a little bit of defense for automatically there. But making each player discard a card, like how many decks in Modern, like when you play Liliana the Veil, and you're just like plussing, making them discard, like that puts a lot of pressure on some of the decks. Like
yeah, but again, most of the decks that do that are able to mitigate. Like they have either Dark Confidant, making sure that they have cards in their hand, or their creatures get more powerful based on it, or their lands are also creatures. Like their deck construction is
Right.
built so that like Standard isn't built that way.
right, but like all right, so when you were playing Blue-White Tron, though, did you want to see Liliana?
No, but the reason I didn't want to see Liliana isn't for the discard effect. That was actually not the issue.
Okay.
It was I couldn't Iona them out because they could make me sack a creature.
Okay, I mean, I don't know. I think
You're right. It's a powerful ability, but if we're talking about like playing this in Standard, because I don't think this is Modern playable when you have Liliana the Veil.
No.
I think that ability is hard. It's hard to use effectively. Now, I will concede that if we have a mono black deck we've already been discussing, this is probably the 3-drop that slots in there. Because if you're going to -X something, you probably want it to be Erebos' Titan or Grey Merchant of Asphodel. So, that being said. But, I don't know. I think this card is okay. Like, you talk about, like, oh, whenever another non-token creature dies, but here's my X3, so I'll just Lightning Strike it as opposed to the other creature. I solved the problem. Like, I don't know. I don't think she's amazing.
It is awkward. Like when you read the card in the beginning, it's like, okay, how many stipulations do you have on flipping? And it's like there was a version of this card that was like, whenever another creature dies, they're like, no. They're like, well, how about just another creature you control? No. Non-token. Like they literally had to have so many things stable to it to prevent it from easily flipping. So you have to jump. You do have to jump through a lot of. You do have to jump through a lot of hoops actually to flip this card, more so than I feel other planeswalkers do. Like you have to, so you're kind of working at two different angles. So you have to construct a deck that'll get this card to flip consistently, and then you have to construct a deck that'll take advantage of the actual planeswalker side of it. And I don't know if those things coexist.
I think you just have to play a lot of creatures. I mean, that's pretty much it.
So
I don't
like-
think it's that hard to build around. I mean, you don't even really have to build around it. You just have creatures in your deck.
I mean, I suppose so. Like Satyr Wayfinder is probably a pretty good target. Probably, I would imagine that like Satyr Wayfinder gives you advantage in a certain way and is innocuous to like want to die, but you have to make it die. Like you have to figure out how that's going to happen.
I mean, there are. It's a bit of a tangent. There are ways to make the plus work in Standard too. The Spoiler of Souls in this set.
Sure.
Bloodsoaked Champion, those type of things. But
Yeah. I mean, they're definitely possibilities for sure. So we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, I'm not saying she's bad, and if she sees a bunch of play, I would be like, okay, that's fine. But I don't know. I don't know if she's going to be the reason like a deck that's playing her is good. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Yeah. It's like a role. Like
Yeah.
it's like a role player more than a flagship card, I guess.
And real quick for Cube, I'm going to give her a try, but I think for all the reasons that Mike said, that you can't. It's harder to build around her in Cube. She might just be good enough value just to play. It's hard to say. Cool. So it's going to be one of those.
I mean,
to play.
I don't know. I feel like in Cube you have more of an access to like good sacrifice effects and good creatures that you want to sacrifice. So
Right, but you don't have the build around for the plus ability. And the things you want to bring back from the graveyard in Cube are like 5-drops, 6-drops, so you got to plus it a few times. But
sure.
might be okay.
Follow me on this one. Turn 2, Secure a Tribe Elder. Turn 3, Liliana. Sack. Get back Secure a Tribe Elder.
I like your way
value.
of thinking.
That's
And even
value.
like
what have you accomplished? You have 2 more lands, and you have a Planeswalker at
you
1.
have a 2/2, you have a Planeswalker, and you have another guy.
but I
And
mean
you're talking about Modern, right?
No,
No, we're
Cube.
talking about Cube.
Yeah.
Oh, Cube. Okay, Cube. I'm sorry.
We're talking about having-
Secure Tribal. I immediately went to Modern. I'm like, are you just dead by then?
Yeah.
What are we talking about? 7 mana on turn 4? No. In your scenario. Six.
So you would have 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6. Yeah. Cast your Grave Titan. Good to go.
Oh, okay. So the whole point of this was to get a good creature into play.
Yeah. You
Oh,
just ramp
okay.
it up.
This deck is
I'm
sweet.
saying that. All right.
All right.
Anyway, let's move on. We spent so much time on
card I
this.
want to mention quickly in conjunction with this is Nantuko Husk.
Yeah.
Which is black or 2 colors and a black for a 2/2 zombie insect. Sacrifice a creature, and Nantuko Husk gets +2/+2. I thought it was interesting that they put a sack outlet in the set with it. Most of their sack outlets recently have been like a tap effect or a mana intensive effect. For this one to just be like, hey, you can sack. Oh, I can sack myself, which is something creatures generally don't do anymore.
Yeah.
It definitely is interesting here. And I think, we said Stoddard, you said mentioned this card doesn't really make sense in Modern Magic, like the way they do ruling anymore, and they still put it in here. So Husk has been really good in the past. It's always good when you have tokens or things that return. You said we've mentioned these Spoiler Souls and Bloodsoaked Champion multiple times, so it just is important to see it here.
I feel like they put it in the set because of Cruel Revival.
Probably.
For the
They needed
limited-
more zombies
Yeah,
with
they needed more
the set.
zombies. Because at the pre-release, I stole this with the Victor guy, Enthralling Victor. Attacked them with their 2/2, and then I sacrificed the end turn, and they get. You can't sacrifice a creature to itself. Again, it's showing that
you're
can't-
right.
This type of thing doesn't happen in Modern Magic. But
It's an insect. It ate itself.
So what I'm thinking of with this card, and like you said, this has been constructed playable in the past. But red's getting a lot of tokens, so a little blue or not blue red, but
Black-red.
a little black red token action. Maybe some Team or Battle Rage. Just got to berserk them up.
All right, Dave, read the next card.